What is going on, everyone? This is Eric coming at you from just outside of Hartford, Connecticut. And today, we are going to be discussing the David Wells trade, which occurred back on January 14th in the year 2001. Now, this was a trade between the Toronto Blue Jays and the Chicago White Sox that saw Toronto acquire 4 players from the Chicago White Sox in exchange for 2 players, namely David Wells. Now, you'll notice that we have Toronto first, and there's a reason for that. So let's jump right in. We'll start by discussing the Blue Jays. Now, the first player that they got was starting pitcher Mike Sirotka. Now, this trade was controversial due to Sirotka. The Blue Jays had agreed to this trade without having a medical opt-out. So the backstory to this is as followed. Toronto's GM at the time, Gord Ash, believed that Chicago's GM, Kenny Williams, did not turn over all information pertaining to Sirotka's shoulder. Now, Ash, basically what happened is Sirotka ended up needing to undergo surgery, and Toronto said, wait a second, you never gave us the full information about the shoulder. This is garbage. So they appealed to the major leagues, and Commissioner Bud Selig refused to overturn the trade. He said, you didn't have a medical opt-out, that's on you. So this turned into a mess, and it led to Williams calling the whole ordeal Shouldergate. Obviously, anytime there's something like this in sports, or in general, life in general, you add gate, all because of Watergate. So basically, Sirotka would have to undergo a pair of major shoulder surgeries over 2 seasons with the Toronto Blue Jays organization, but with little to no progress in his recovery, Toronto decided to cut him after the 2 years. Now, Gord Ash would also lose his job due to the whole mess, and it's just an interesting side note in MLB history. I didn't know about this story until doing research. So Toronto also got 3 more players in this deal. The next one would be relief pitcher Kevin Byrne. And Byrne, he struggled immensely over 5 games in the 2001 season. He had an ERA of 12.86 over 7 innings. And then he would walk. He really struggled in those few games. Next, we have relief pitcher Mike Williams. Now, Williams was traded back to the Chicago White Sox before the season began. And he was traded for relief pitcher Matt DeWitt. Now, DeWitt had a 3.79 ERA over 16 appearances in the 2001 season, but he would walk after the season. The last player Toronto got was outfielder Brian Simmons. Now, Simmons had ruptured his Achilles the year prior to this deal, but they knew about the injury, so different story than Sirotka. Now, he struggled to play well after his injury, as he only hit a .178 with a pair of homers over 60 games before Toronto decided to waive him. Not the best deal for the Blue Jays. How did the White Sox do? So, first we have starting pitcher David Wells. I technically could have made this in the Roger Clemens video, but I decided to just do separate just because they're both important trades in MLB history. So, Chicago got David Wells, and David Wells struggled with back problems throughout the 2001 season. He ended that year with a 5-7 record, a 4.47 ERA, and only 59 strikeouts over 100 innings pitched. He would walk the following offseason as a free agent. Now, Chicago also got relief pitcher Matt DeWitt in this trade, but he was traded back to Toronto, as we discussed before, in exchange for relief pitcher Mike Williams. And Mike Williams, unfortunately for the team, he spent 1 year in the minors, but then he left the team. I don't know if he retired or what. So now we get to the WAR, and this was a pretty minor trade, all things considered. Chicago wins with a 1.3 WAR, whereas Toronto got a negative .4. So this was an interesting trade in MLB history just because of the fact that you had Shouldergate. Hope you guys enjoyed this trade. This was a David Wells trade breakdown. Have a good rest of your day.